All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. It's 4 o'clock. Call this meeting to order. Once again, please remember to use these as you are being taped. So, first of all, we have a couple of guests in the back. Would you please stand and tell us who you are? Start.
I'm Janet Convoy. I'm here to see about the Recreation Committee.
Very good.
Jackie Gaines, the same thing.
What's your last name, Jeff?
Gaines, G-A-I-N.
I'm Mike Kraft. I was going to talk about pickleball.
Okay, very good. You want to go ahead and take a few minutes and tell us about it right now?
Microphone.
Yeah, you walk over and use the microphone.
Yeah, usually I don't need that, but let me just get over this.
TV does.
My notes. The Medfield courts, I know everybody here knows they're working on lights, and they're not up yet. Even though it's good to be summertime, they worked on them again the other day, putting the new lights up, but they still don't have the electrical hooked up for it. So need those done because there's a lot of people who want to play in the evenings, not just the morning groups that old guys like me like to play in. So the court service needs some work in the future. It's starting to get pockmarked pretty bad because the winter weather. Usually, once it starts, it just kind of eats that type of surface up. There's also a lot of peeling that's going on around the net areas, and the white lines need to be redone. Windscreens, we've moved some windscreens around over there because they just get torn from the high winds we've had earlier this year. We moved them to the inside on the north side. However, we're missing all the grommets at the bottom of them, and if we could have one or two that we could put up, and we'd be glad to do the work ourselves. That's not a problem. It's just getting something that's not going to be continually being ripped off because we're kind of out of luck on that bottom side of it right now. And let me see. Other than that, I don't really have anything. Yes.
Can you give us an estimate of how much play there is and how many days a week or nights and how many of the people are active or members?
I can't tell you members because we don't really check membership up there. I know there's a few people who play. I ran into some people. One person came from Joplin and met somebody from Fayetteville. So we're going to have some of those. But most of the people I know that live in Bella Vista, I would expect them to be members, since they live here. There's a lot of those, probably 26 that we play an average about 3 days a week. And then we've moved to playing, if we get time on Saturday, now that the weather's kind of changed, so it's a little bit warmer. But if it's over 40 degrees, there's a pretty good crew of people out there. I mean, Ken can elaborate a little bit more on that than I can. But this time of year, there's a Sunday group plays a Sunday evening. I didn't know any of them, so I stopped by there the other day, just saw them out there, and I have no idea who they are. But I would think Sunday evening it was all couples, and they'd probably live here also. So it probably gets 5 days a week at least of play. I'm more familiar with about 2 or 3 hours a time, 4 days a week. So, because I still have to play golf 4 days a week, and it's just hard for me to get everything in. My wife kind of frowns at me doing something all the time. So, anyway, it is. It's really hard. Still got grandkids to deal with too. So.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. My name is Joan. I'm the
Hi,
Director
Joan.
of Recreation. And Ken and I keep in regular contact about pickleball. The lights are in progress, as you mentioned. There was a lot of work that had to be done. Not only was it underground conduit, but electrical. And I also spoke to Val's husband, who is on this committee, but just not here today. The goal is to have it done by the end of this month. They're working on it as much as they can in between. Sometimes they get pulled off for critical work. There will be a light switch both on those courts as well as the basketball courts when it's done, so that you'll be able to turn it on in the evening. The plan is to have it set so that you won't be able to turn it on after 11 p.m., but you'll be able to turn it on early in the morning, like 5 a.m., because there are some people that like, and then after dark as well. So I know you know they're working on it, but just to give you somewhat of a timing, they're hoping to have it done by the end of the month. And it was a much larger project than they thought.
No, I know, and I was involved in a little bit last year whenever they first started, talking about it, because the light switch was up at supposed to be up there at the pool house. Well, the pool house closed before it got dark, and it didn't make a lot of sense, but then.
Yeah,
then
but
I
that was
found
the
out-
least of our problems, we
Right.
found out.
I know, I talked to the electricians, and they told me, no, it wasn't even running conduit.
Correct.
Whoever did
And
first.
as Ken has probably told you, we absolutely know that the demand for pickleball continues to grow, and we 100% support it. As you know, budgets were cut this year. The one thing that I've agreed to do, and it was a good idea that Ken and Bill Allen had, is could we possibly stripe the basketball court next to the pickleball courts? I am going to do that. I have the contractor already on, in the queue. He's very busy, as you can imagine, and we'll hope to have that done by July 4th, so that'll give you a fourth court. As far as the repairs and everything, that'll have to be a major budget for next year, along with what we did talk about this year is looking at expanding courts, meaning adding new. It all comes down to the budget next year, but it's absolutely something that I will put back in for the 2020. And then the other thing, just to let you know, because the 2 pickleball courts at Branchwood are still available, I know it's on the other side of town, we are looking for next year, I'm already getting bids, at resurfacing those courts and lining it so there'll be 4 pickleball. So again, we get that pickleball is in very good demand, and we support it 100%. It's just a matter of putting the money around. But I pulled some extra money to stripe the courts on the basketball courts. And at the very least, next year, we could reline the 3 at Metfield, but I would like to do a little bit more resurfacing. So
Right. I
I
understand.
appreciate your
Ken
patience.
has told everybody that asked when we're up there. I just want to make sure that I want to be as supportive as I can of Ken, because sometimes, he's like the Lone Ranger talking to this bunch, so,
Oh, it's all right.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, let's go to our amenity reports. First up, Debbie.
2 things. First of all, Jessica got married. So, yes, and I've been out of town and then was busy all last week. I was out of town all 2 weeks, and then last week I was involved with the golf tournament. So I walked in and here's all these flowers at Branchwood, and Jessica got married. So we don't know if she's changing her last name or whatever. Is she?
She's keeping
Okay,
her name, and she's finishing up her honeymoon today.
good.
So she's finishing up her honeymoon today, and
Good.
she's keeping her last name. And
Okay, good.
You'll see her around Branchwood this week when I unbury her from everything else.
Okay, great. The other thing is, and I called today, Lori at Branchwood said that the disc golf is really been busy. So, which is great. I have not walked the trail for 3 weeks, so I have no idea what the trail is like. But I do know that disc golf has been kind of crazy, and it's just being used a lot between the raindrops. Okay, that's it?
Thank you. Ken?
Okay, the gun range. Is on, right? Okay, the gun range, everything is going well there. The 4th trap is up and going. When I talked with Carol the other day, this past Saturday, he was expecting 142 kids there. So, haven't heard from him since then, but big crowd of kids. So generally increasing in volume, month to month, year to year, when the weather permits, and no major issues or problems there.
Thank you. Chris?
The RV storage facility is secure and things are looking good there. Nothing unusual to report. Over at Lake Ann, everything looks fine there too. I talked to a member and she said she loves it. She had some kids there just enjoying the afternoon. Is there anything that we can improve on, I asked. She says, no, couldn't think of anything. So I guess that makes Lake Ann pretty good from her perspective. and mine. I like that place too, and it's looking good. I noticed there like a floating dock just to the south edge of the boat ramp.
So that's been a mystery dock all winter. And it floated loose during our high water event, and it came to rest on top of someone else's dock as the water went back down. We finally found out who it belonged to, and there's been a company hired, and they're actually going to dismantle it and haul it away in pieces.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and I'll go on to London Park too while I'm at it then. So that park is looking fine. All the facilities are in good order and everything. One thing I noticed there, and it might be because the lake is a higher level maybe or not, I don't know, but the kayak launching is a little bit more difficult than it was last year. It's kind of like you go from the land to the water in a drop off, where I remember last year it was a little bit more gradiated. So I have to bring this up because
and
I saw.
that might be because we removed some of the gravel in that creek and in the surrounding mouth of that creek. It's already filled in quite a bit, so it's kind of a maintenance thing and you'll see that area kind of fluctuate from time to time. So,
Okay. Yeah, if we could ever, do anything to help the kayak launching there, it makes it nicer.
okay,
And my wife won't yell at me when she tips over again.
okay.
Thanks, Chris. Mary?
Fairhaven is fine, no problems, they're very busy with golf tournament events. The tennis courts, went into a bid resources in blue, the color blue, they look fabulous. And they're busy doing clinics for special children. Playground was good, the only concern I have is the bathroom there. When I went in and checked it, both of them really needed attention. And, I went Friday. Midday? Yeah, it was midday. And the doors, the inside doors could really use some paint and really maybe if we painted and actually cool, so it'd be a little more fun inside of it, but. We don't want it. It needs attention, so otherwise there's no other problems.
Thank you. Jan, Loch Lomond?
Everything's good at Loch Lomond. It amazes me. It's a big area and it stays, thank you, Debbie, stays nicely mowed and groomed. The restrooms were spotless, actually, when I was in there. And lots more use in the pavilion, a lot more use of the softball diamond, baseball diamond. The dog park grass is great. It's reopened again.
Yes.
And I don't know about the small dog. Is that going to be on hold for another budget? Or?
Well, we decided that it didn't need it this year, so it depends on need.
Yeah. It looked pretty good. That's why I was asking, and, so. But
We've had a great year for grass.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes, you have. So
Yeah.
it's all filled in and looks great. So, okay, thanks.
All right, so Tyree Park looks good. I've been out at it a couple of times Sunday and then 2 weeks before. Plenty of trailers out there, so plenty of boats out in the water. Seen a couple of people picnicking as well, which is good, because I don't see that too much of that down at Tyree. But it's gotten a lot more business there than the last couple of years at this time, so that's all good news. Bathrooms are good, the water works. And I haven't seen anybody rent out the pavilion yet when I've gone down there, but I'm sure it's probably pretty active as well. Val's not here, so she's, I forgot where she said she was, but no, won't be back until tomorrow, so. We'll hold off on RV and Park in Blowing Springs. And then Tanner Creek, hope to fill that position by July.
Question, on Lake Avalon, is there a new gazebo type thing there at Lake Avalon?
Yeah, it's called the VIP Lounge, and it's a small, think of it as pergola rather than a big pavilion. and it's for rent, and it goes through the beach. That's how we reserve it. You can reserve it by the whole day or half day, and it seats, give or take, 10-ish, but people are renting it now for small birthday parties or just people that want shade.
Metfield Complex, Steve?
Yes, all is well at the Metfield Complex. Bathrooms were in top-notch condition. Obviously, we talked about the mini golf out there in need of some sprucing up when the opportunity presents itself. But otherwise, all things good out at Medfield.
Thank you. And that, guys, that covers them all. All right, very good. I'll go ahead and present it to the board next week on the 27th, unless somebody wants to do it. Okay. I just have to ask. All right, well, let's go into our new business then. As you know, we have to get elections done by July, as I recall.
The board, the committee leadership is actually a July meeting
Yeah,
topic, or that's when you should vote, is in July.
it's in July, right?
Yeah.
They want to talk about it tonight.
I'm totally fine with
Yeah.
that.
All right, with that, we've also got a couple of people who have put in applications for the Recreation Committee. Had an opportunity to talk with both of them, and they are both here tonight with us, and so I told them that I'd give them a couple of minutes to go ahead and talk to the committee about your thoughts, your ideas, and those things. And I'll go in the order of when I got these applications, and Janet, you were first. So if you want to take a step up to the microphone and give us a few minutes about yourself and what the Recreation Committee.
Seems a little bit, I hate for it to be in the way between me and you guys. I'm Janet Conboy. I moved here in April of 2018, and best decision I ever made. I've been involved or taken advantage of a lot of the amenities that you all provide and support and maintain. And I come from a background in community service, both professionally as well as, volunteer work for whatever. And right now I volunteer with the Bella Vista Animal Shelter, and I'm with, do some occasional work with some other groups. Professionally, I was a teacher and then a counselor, and then I moved into working with the State Department of Mental Health in Missouri. Had a number of different jobs, worked with the developmentally disabled, with people with mental health challenges. I did a lot of administration toward the end. One of the main things that we looked at was, how to reach the needs of a diversity of people. And that means age groups, it means physical and mental disabilities, kids, you name it. And part of that thinking funneled into, I wrote you guys probably remember the 1993 flood that took over the world. I did some grant writing. I wrote the Department of Mental Health's federal grant. Did a lot of data collection, needs assessment, and so forth, and was project manager for that. But I think, I train people. I'm getting involved in the Master Naturalist program, and I'm thinking that maybe that's something that we can do, especially with Tanyard Creek. And you already have a great interpretive stations throughout, and being able to maybe lead a group through or have other people lead a group through are the amenities that would be amenable to that. Would like to see to get more groups in the community aware beyond hearing the reports and reading the minutes and the great publicity that you guys put out, but with the intention of getting folks involved. I've done needs assessment, I've done a lot of data management based on that, but, and that's something I could bring to the table. But more importantly, I think, is how to shape the service, how to shape the recognition that we've got new people, new demographic moving into the community. And so how do we address that while not leaving aside the people that, founded this area? So those are the kind of thoughts, I've been thinking about, other programs and so forth, but you guys have such a good, it goes beyond a foundation. I mean, you have a lot of amenity infrastructure in terms of thinking about how you involve people and so forth, and I think we can build on that. And I'd really like to be involved, and if I, am not named to this, I still want to be involved because I still think I can bring some of those things to the table. So I don't know if you have any questions or that's it.
Questions? Thank you. Jackie?
Oops. So I'm Jackie Gain, and I've been a resident here since December of 17. My parents have been resident here since 1984. And so they were one of the first ones to build out there on Lake Ann. I was fortunate enough to purchase their house. They have since moved to Tanyard Creek. And so I've had 35 years of coming up here on vacation and Christmas and summer vacations, that sort of thing. So love the area. My husband and I have said that this is where we want to retire. We were blessed enough to be able to do it before we retired. I still work full-time. I used to be a controller at a paper mill for International Paper, and was responsible for the budgets there and the payroll and all that there. Was able to transfer to a different position that actually visits our global facilities with International Paper to see how we can reduce cost and basically do Lean Six Sigma and manufacturing excellence, that sort of thing at the facilities. My husband's semi-retired. He was a plant manager, but we kind of took a step semi to be able to get us up here. And so we're currently co-leasing the Dairy Queen here. And so he's running that throughout the rest of this year, probably. Actually, we are very active I was fortunate enough to join the Ladies Non-League Golf, and there's been several people on there that as soon as they find out that I have a connection there, we've given away several cakes and door prizes and that sort of thing, and the library, and he's done a lot of donations. So it's been a good learning experience for us with that as well. So I do have 6 grandkids, and 4 of them are local. And it's great to have the amenities we have here for them to come. They're in Oklahoma, but they're a short drive over here, and so they come over here and get to enjoy the amenities we have here. So I'm an avid kayaker, and do like to golf and do like to do the trails, and am very impressed with not only the recreation, but even obviously the Trafalgar Fire was of interest to me, and the communication that we did with the videos and the need-to-know kind of clips were very informative. But then I was telling, can't remember your first name now, Jan, that I wanted to kind of know something about the committees, and your minutes are great. The organization of the website, being able to go and look at months and months of minutes of not only this committee, but several committees is very good and lets us get a handle on what's going on. And then Gary was kind enough to share, I'm sure with her too, about the 19 budget requests. Very impressive, good list of things to address, and I understand with the budget concerns, we have to kind of do what we can with that. But I'm also very interested in, never played pickleball, but I have family who does, and I'm very interested in that. So I was glad to hear that as well. So I guess just as a user is kind of what I have to bring to the table. I don't think we really get into the finance side. It doesn't sound like too much. It sounds like we get some advice on that, able to do that. But so just with the keen interest of the amenities here, do have some small ideas. I like your ideas of, bringing in diversity group, but just as a user, I think there's several areas that, looking at your minutes, the putt-putt golf, we went out there and did that for Mother's Day, and my parents are older, and the edges are hard to see, so I think if we did reflective tape, that sort of thing on the edges, they wouldn't trip over those, and maybe a couple benches along the place so they can sit, while they wait, just those little things like that. I read in your minutes where you talked about people filling their own water on the golf course. I think that's great. I do that already. I bring my own water bottle and then fill it up with the jug that's out there. But I think a lot of those are real progressive, small ideas. The trailheads, I'm right there at the back 40 trailhead, and I don't know why we don't have trash cans there, but I do walk that all the time, so I go and pick up trash. I don't know if that's because that's another, I don't know, I'm sure that's been discussed, but I just think that would be a nice thing to have. So anyway, so just excited to help in whatever way. Gary kind of had to educate me about if there's subcommittees or committees and where I can help, but I'm just like she is, that if I'm not elected, I certainly want to be involved, have a history of being involved with the community where I came from, and so appreciate it.
All right, now we still will be taking applications through June 30, I think is what I read. And at that point in time, then we'll end up making a decision. So with that, looking on the agenda, we have got leadership elections that are coming up next month. Janet is going to step down as secretary. She's done that for 2 years for us and done a wonderful job. So we need someone who would want to do that, given that somebody who can write well and write fast. So that position will be open, and we've also need to vote on the chair and vice chair as well. And if you're interested in any of those, we need to have that pulled together so we can do our elections in July. Don't all just jump up at once.
Are you interested in continuing?
Yes, I'm interested in continuing as the chair, if you want me to. And I think that we've done a great job as a committee and have brought a lot of ideas to the table, just like the 2019 budget things that we came up with. Whether or not we had an opportunity to work with those this year, those things are still out there, and they're still viable alternatives that we've brought to the table, and I think we've done a great job. And I think everyone's done a great job with their amenity reports as well. So that said, if anybody wants to look at vice chair or secretary, they're open. So just know you may be called upon in the
Are
future.
you willing to stay, Debbie, as vice chair?
Right now, maybe a free water bottle or something, We'll get you one of those. A hearty handshake. Very good. Okay, with that, we can go ahead. Oh, yes, Debbie.
I know that we are not the golf committee, but I want everyone to be aware of this last week, what a successful golf tournament that was held here, the professional golf tournament. And there were over 200 volunteers. Ruth Hatcher was invaluable to organize it. The POA helped. Lake Point provided all the food, which was fabulous, and a different sandwich every day, which was great, not hot dogs every day. Bella Vista Foundation, I don't know how much money was collected. I'll know next month, since my husband is treasurer and we haven't gotten that. Steve was a huge help in providing technological assistance so we could charge money at the silent auction. But anyway, it was very successful. We had 132 golfers. 34 were housed here locally. Very, very grateful. They were very, very, just nice young men. And lastly, the gentleman from Gibbon, Nebraska, I can't tell you how small Gibbon, Nebraska is, was the leader all 4 days. And on the last hole, he bogeyed, and his partner from Australia birdied, and so the young man from Australia won $20,000, and the guy from Gibbon, Nebraska won $12,000. So that's all in the name of golf. And nobody quite knew what to say to the young man from Gibbon. I mean, he left quickly. So it was tough. It really was. The whole Nebraska group was there. The club was there to take a picture, and they didn't get a picture taken. So, yeah. Anyway, but Tom, and you're to be congratulated, because it really was. It was a wonderful event. And Kim, you were fabulous. You helped so much. So, anyway.
And Daryl and his team did a fantastic job. Keith, the golf course was, Rob and his team, the golf course looked great. And Tommy and his team just rolled with the punches. Got, when the bad weather came in on Saturday, they had to jump through some hoops to make it happen. And it was, the whole team came together. It was really, really amazing.
All right, POA staff reports. Tom, what do you got?
I'm going to give you a little update on the stump dump, or the Trafalgar site. We're going to call it the Trafalgar site because we're not going to call it the Trafalgar fire anymore, because there is no fire. I just got a text just before the meeting started that the trench burning is done. The last trench is got a little smoldering done, but the rain will put that out pretty quick. But all the burning is done. They're doing site stabilization for the next week or so. It depends upon how cooperative the rain is, which it has not been of recent. If you go onto our website later on today, you'll see a drone video that we did just today with another voiceover giving our residents an update. So that's going very well. I'm very, very pleased with how that has turned out. Today is day 31. When we started fighting the fire, it was exactly 31 days ago. So we've come a long way in a short amount of time. So.
Great decision.
Yeah, it was yeah, we only saved about 30 million bucks. And I'm not joking. Yeah. So we got it done. ADQ is a good partner. I'm glad it's at least almost 100% behind us. But we're a lot closer now than we have been in a long time.
Tom, has ADEQ signed off on that as well?
I think what ended up happening, we were expecting them to give us a formal, okay, the fire is formally out, and then the flooding occurred in other parts of the state, and they were distracted, and I think what ended up happening, it got to a point where it was a foregone conclusion. Or, you're going to come out and tell us that it's officially out when we already know that. They did do a site visit last Monday. It went well. They appear to be pleased with the progress. We were on site for several hours, going all the way down. Took every bit of clothing that I had and put it in the dry cleaning bag when I got done. So it's been going very well, and they're working with us on the site stabilization now. So.
Excellent. Hey, Tom, do we have any idea what the total cost of that's going to come in at?
Right now, we're looking at $4 million. We think that that's going to be where it's going to wind up, but it could go over that amount. It just depends upon what ends up happening, before we're all done. Doug and I were talking about it today. If we hadn't had all this unusual amount of rain and all the stoppage time that we had, could we have saved some money? Possibly. Because early on when they were fighting the fire and we had to pull off because of rain a couple times and then lightning and so forth, that's when it was costing us, $10,000 an hour. And, you're pulling off. There was a couple days that we pulled off half a day. So those are expensive. So is it possible that all this abnormal rain cost us several $100,000? Yeah. So, and that's just putting the fire out and remediating the site. We still have a lawsuit, so that's still out there, and we have a lot of attorney fees, and those are not included in the $4 million estimate.
Tom, can you explain what you're going to do with the land once it's put to rest?
Well, they're still working on the full remediation of the site and what it's going to look like. So it's hard for me to 100% comment, but our contractors are working closely with ADQ to figure that out. But I know in general terms it has to be fully vegetated. That'll hold the soil together, and so we'll see. Not a great answer, other than I'm just, I still need more information from them, and what ongoing testing they're going to have to do. I'm sure they're going to require us to do some water testing going forward, and other types of testing going forward. We'll see.
All right, thanks, Tom. Rick?
Okay, Department 48, which is our lakes and parks. I'll just quickly go over some of the ranger stats. We had 2,913 ranger contacts for May. That's down a little bit from May of last year, primarily because of the weather, I think. But it is up considerably over April of this year, which was 1,313. We had 112 boat hours logged by our lake rangers and 384 boat contacts. We are fully staffed in this department and trained. One of the other projects that we're doing over the last couple of weeks is we're evaluating picnic tables in various facilities and parks, and replacing the wood on those as needed. It was brought to our attention that some of those were in pretty rough shape, and we're taking care of those. Department 480, which is our Lakes Ecology and Fisheries department. We continue to see benefits from the heavy rain that we've had this year. One of the few areas where the rain has been good. It's caused plankton blooms in our lakes and reduced the amount of fertilizer we've had to use. Our E. coli levels at the beach continue to be in a good range, although they are up over the previous month. We're at 40, where our safe level is 127. So we're still well under that level. I don't expect the trend to continue and get worse. It's just the water has warmed, and it's just typical for this time of the year. Our aquaculture program has been very successful for Saugeye this year. We've stocked 8,000 fish into Lake Ann and 5,500 into Lake Windsor. So that's about where we want to be for that production. Took us 2 years to get the kinks out, but we're doing pretty good. And even though we've had a lot of rain, we haven't inundated our ponds, so that's good. We hired Rachel McGriff a couple weeks ago to replace our previous Lakes Ecology technician, and she has a environmental soil and water science degree from the University of Arkansas. On her application, it said that she was referred by an employee, so we're glad to have her and glad to get the referral. Don't know who it was, but so we have someone who's gone to school specifically for the kind of work that she'll be doing, and that's something that's been hard for us to capture. At the gun range, we've been very busy. That's why John's not here today. He worked over the weekend, and I gave him the day off. Our poultry shoot was last Friday. It went very well. One of the benefits from that this year is they've agreed to buy their shotgun shells from us next year. We were under the impression that they were donated for that event, but they actually purchased them, and we can beat their price. So we'll get that next year. They were very impressed with the facility, and the 4th trap field made things go a lot quicker. In the future, they're going to add more rounds because
we were pushing into the evening hours with what they were doing. Now with the fourth trap field, they want to shoot more. So that'll be a bigger income producer for us next year. The high school state trap championship was held with 70 participants on Saturday. There were 6 teams. The total number of teams was kind of tamped down because of the weather. We expected 140, like you said. We ended up with about 70. We did have lightning strike one of the trap houses, and it was down only for an hour. We replaced a motherboard, some other wiring, got it going within an hour. So I feel like that was tremendous. And that fourth trap field helped things kind of go smoothly without missing a beat. So two situations where that's already helped us out quite a bit. That trap house the new one has already thrown over 5,000 birds. So in a little over a week worth of operation. So we also got a verbal agreement from the high school trap league that they'll be back next year and use us for the state championship again. So that's great. We're looking ahead to the cancer challenge this Thursday and Friday. In addition to the normal event, we're going to have a kids event on Thursday night. We expect up to 100 kids, and they're going to shoot under the lights. So that'll be great. Our classes are down somewhat for the concealed carry and enhanced concealed carry classes, but our beginner classes are going strong. This kind of mirrors what happened last year, so no big surprises there. And we started opening about a month ago on Thursday, in addition to Wednesday. And although we've had mixed results. When we have a really great Wednesday, pretty Wednesday, Thursday is usually a little slow. But we've had so much rain and so many washouts on Wednesday that Thursday has kind of helped us out there. So I feel like it's a good program. It'll just be for the warmer months of the year. We'll go back to 1 day a week in the fall, but I think it'll be a good program going forward. Our dog park is open, like was mentioned earlier, and we're looking at doing some improvements on the Tanyard Creek Trail. As you go across the main bridge at the bottom of the dam and turn right to go towards Lake Avalon, which would be the bluffs. There is some really bad erosion going on right there that's going to consume that part of the trail if we don't do something. I talked to Kirk, and we feel like we can do that in-house. I'm going to get a permit to do the work before we get started. But we feel like we can do that with savings from other projects this year. And also at Tanyard Creek tomorrow, I'm going to be presenting a volunteer who really has taken ownership in the trails. And he noticed on Sunday, a week ago, some graffiti on the door between the two bathrooms. And he emailed the group leader, and before the group leader could respond to him, he sent pictures of the complete job. He had gone in and got some existing paint that matched and painted the door and had it done within 15 minutes. And I doubt 20 people saw the graffiti before it was taken care of. So I'm going to be presenting him with a Celebrating Success recognition, which is typically geared towards employees, but we feel like that we want to include him in this. So that's it.
Thank you. Joan?
Lots going on. I'm going to start with it. Thank you. Lots going on. I'm going to start with a visual that really I'll attribute to Kim in the marketing department. But for those of you that haven't seen the inside of Tiny Cabin or the outside of the Tiny Cabin at Blowing Springs continues to be a very, very active park. And this is an ad that the marketing team did. We also have small business cards that look very similar to this that we affix to a holder outside the cabin. So as people are walking by and they want to know how to book it, as we do that all through Airbnb, tiny cabin continues to be very popular. The number one request that I get that I have to turn down is they're looking for multiple cabins when multiple groups want to come in because it only sleeps two. It's not just people from out of town. Most recently, I had a member contact me. She just needed an extra bed, has family in town, so she's putting up a couple in our tiny cabin. So that's just one of the many things that keeps Blowing Springs busy. We are sold out most weekends now. The Arboretum is getting a lot of attraction from local members just walking. Maybe they're already walking that part of the park, but now that gives them a little bit more to look at. We do have a contractor that is watering the new plants, so we have about 25 native species that have been planted. And going back to Janet's comments about, wanting to be more involved and wanting to see this sense of community, that's an area that does have volunteers helping with it. So we appreciate them for that. We had to postpone the Fireflies and tailgating event that was scheduled for this Saturday. It was a decision by a couple of the Community Involvement Committee members to postpone that because of the rain. So that'll happen on the last Saturday of the month, which is June 29th. And Tom is providing free hot dogs for that. And it's just a community event. Get people out in the park and have a nice old-fashioned way to celebrate. People bring their own sides. We provide hot dogs and drinks, and kids can bring their mason jars or whatever they want to catch the fireflies in. And again, the community involvement team has really driven that. Some of the other things that are going on at the beach, again, kind of resonated with me with what Janet said is, how do we include new demographics and how do we help our community, not just our members that are already using our amenities, but how do we help those in our community that really need us? So just wanted to let you know that I've made arrangements with the Boys and Girls Club of Bella Vista. They are coming out to the beach every Friday. This past Friday was their first Friday. They had about 20 kids, and I give them a very nominal price to get in. And they paid us back in full because the kids apparently hit the concession stand. So it was a win-win. But they'll be coming out for the next 6 weeks. We also partner with the library. If you haven't been out to the beach this year, we have a new little red library, which is a lending library that the teen group there built with some volunteers, and it's placed right under the shady tree by the beach. So it's got kids' books as well as adult books in there. We also are going to do I can't give a whole lot of details for obvious reasons, but we're going to do a kind of a give back for a women's shelter so that they can bring some of their kids and the women out to have a place to play. It's going to be a one-day event. One of our members actually is just a volunteer there. He takes his own money and does either a fish fry or hot dogs for them, and so we're going to let their participants into the beach for free. So we do a lot of community things. The beach continues to be very successful. It goes without saying that it takes a village. Not only is my team, really prideful about the beach, but the MAC department, including Rick's team, has helped us with algae control. A week before we opened, we lost a third of our sand and a retaining wall, and the MAC team came to the party and got it done quick. So we're very fortunate there. We had a very successful Memorial Day party, and we're right on the tails of our July 4th Sand Fest, our second annual. That's where we have a lot of fun events, including sandcastle building. You'll see a flyer and some information coming out on that. We have a hula hoop contest, limbo contest. We do a rubber ducky roundup for the little kids, and it's always a fun day. We also have very good classes going on there. We have a kids stand-up paddleboard camp that starts next week. It'll be offered 3 times throughout the season. We have paddleboard yoga classes that are on Saturday mornings and Tuesday nights, and then we also have yoga on the beach. And when the weather cooperates, people seem to be pretty happy with those programs. Also at the pools for 4th of July, while the beach does Sandfest in the afternoon, the pools do Splashdown, and they have prizes and fun games, and we really try and really celebrate that, so we're getting ready for that. The pools are down, unfortunately. This weather has not been good for us. We are down in both attendance, pool passes. I do attribute some of the pool passes being down to the Trafalgar fire, because Metfield did open late, but it was the right thing to do. We're just going to hope that moving forward, the weather really cooperates with us. The people at Kingsdale are very appreciative to our new mural, and they've noticed the painting, and I think they like the staff there. Jessica's doing a great job with managing the two pool staffs. The marina is very busy, especially on weekends. Our boats are sold out almost every weekend when the weather is nice. We had a lot of Father's Day people. Thankfully, the Father's Day weather did not turn out as bad as it was supposed to be, because we don't force people to take the boat out. If it's just raining lightly, then yes, but obviously if it's thunder or lightning, we won't let our boats go out anyway. But Trey is my marina supervisor, and he's doing a great job. We've had to do a fair amount of repairs on the boats and just doing general things, but one other exciting thing that we're very happy to have gotten done this past week is a new launching area at the marina proper. So if you know where the Fly Tires fishing dock is, to the right, closer to the marina, there was an old ramp there at the end of the sidewalk that in days past we used to get our boats into the water. Well, we don't really need to use that anymore, and it was an old metal ramp in there, and as a way to enhance our members' lives, we took that ramp out and took out a chunk of concrete that was kind of cracked, and we will eventually add a little gravel. It's a short-term fix for this year. We will probably add better launching capabilities, but the long short is you can now park there right by the marina, drag your kayak down on the grassy area, and launch right there. And in the past, that was not available. And it's sort of a disconnect, right? When you think about a marina, you could launch our boats for rent, but if you had your own kayak, okay, drive around to the other side, which we have great areas in those areas, and that lake is big, so we need multiple launching. But that was also, it took a village, because literally some of our MAC team were out there sawing pieces of metal into small enough pieces that we could haul that off. So we're really happy to have gotten that done. Cancer Challenge, as you all mentioned, everybody in the POA seems to be involved in that, but Reardon really becomes Cancer Challenge Central. My team helps with everything from pallet jack unloading. We drive our forklift to unload the big semis, and the whole volunteer crew is in Reardon Hall doing the bags and everything. It's kind of a neat thing because it's adult volunteers as well as the high schooler kids get involved, so it's pretty cool to see. And I know many of you are involved in that as well. I think that is all I have. Oh, tennis. As Mary mentioned, the courts were resurfaced. Not only do we have tennis camps going on there, we have Cancer Challenge. They're doing a fun young youth event for the Cancer Challenge this year. And just trying to step up our offerings. The youth program continues to grow, so Jake's doing a great job there. So I'll end with that.
All right, thank you. Judy's not here, so Kim, do you have anything from the marketing department?
Actually, I gave it to Joan. It was the tiny cabinet.
Oh, the tiny, right there?
It was in Bike Arkansas magazine.
Okay, very good.
I actually had one more thing to say about the trails, just when you thought you were getting out of here on time. You will, you'll be early. So Aaron Rushing and Cassie with the city had a walk on Friday, May 31st, to let people come out and talk about the 11 Under trails, maybe to understand a little bit more about them and to know how they might differ from Back 40. And there were about 50-some people that showed up. It was so much so that Aaron, who is the executive director of the Trailblazers, he had a hard time because he would have to double back because the 50-some people were spread out. But they basically walked about a 2-mile hike from where the trail picks up below Papa Mike's out to Reardon. and back, and that's a beautiful part of the trail. It's already heavily accessed. The trail is not officially open, nor is it officially done, but people can't help themselves, and that's what's happening on 11 Under Trails. And I will say it's a lot of local residents. I'm not suggesting that there aren't outsiders that will come and use our trails. As we know, they're open to the public, but I use that trail a lot because my dogs like it, I like to bike it, we hike it, and I see right now more hikers on it than I do bikers, and they're local. They're people that have, I stop and talk to almost everybody, so it's a fun thing to see. But there were a lot of people that came out and were, really anxious, and it gave them a chance to not only ask the city questions, because Cassie Lapp, who is our communication manager, who helps me, she's kind of got that under her responsibility, as well as the POA. I help manage the trails. It was that opportunity for giving the community members a chance to talk about the trails. So just wanted to say that that was a good thing. And you've probably seen that the detour off of Chelsea has happened. The first 11 Under tunnel is under construction, and it's pretty cool to see. It's worth a drive down there. It's a 12-foot in diameter construction pipe that will become the tunnel to safely pass hikers and bikers under that trail.
While we're on trails, could I ask a question about the proposed Greenway expansion that we had a community input meeting on a couple months ago? Any updates on that project?
They're still in planning and engineering so far, so we haven't heard anything new for a little bit. I expect several more months before we get anything new.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for the agenda. Does anybody have anything else that they'd like to bring up? Anyone? I've got one thing I have to do this plug because Judy's not here, but August 17th, there's a golf tournament for Alzheimer's. Last year, had about 3 weeks to get it together, and they came up with 10 grand or something. So have an opportunity to really help that out. Susan Nuttall's chairing that, and Judy's helping her out. We need volunteers for that. I just heard that, once again, I think is right, Golden Corral will go ahead and sponsor the food again for us this year. And I've already got 2 people to do holes, in terms of, for $100 you can get your friends to go ahead and sponsor a hole. And I think we're probably going to get quite a bit of that. So there's more coming out on that. There's actually packages out depending upon what you want to do, from a volunteer, sponsorships, if you know people who want to play in it. I've got 2 or 3 people already from just last year's tournament that I commandeered, and I went up to their doors because they're local business people here. And said, okay, we're going to sponsor a hole, or they're going to come and get a foursome again. So just put it on your calendar, and it was a blast, by the way. It really was. So with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second? This meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.